I'm going to call this meeting for September 23rd of City Council to order.
Miller,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Hay,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Briggs,
Yes. Okay, first thing on the agenda are the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the September 9th minutes.
Second.
Miller,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Hay,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Briggs.
Yes. Okay, under new business, we have 3 resolutions, all requiring only a reading by title only and passage. Roger, almost called you Bruce.
Thank you, Mayor. We have 3 resolutions tonight to go over, and all 3 of these relate to the Pollock Road Bridge project. The first being a wetland mitigation document signing, and then secondly, a temporary construction easement from Steve and Jennifer Pryor so that we can be on that piece of property during the construction period. And third, a purchase of a sliver of property, about a quarter of an acre from Steve and Jennifer Pryor so that we can make the approach on the west side of that bridge a little straighter than what it is right now. To go over the details of those 3 resolutions, we'll have Drew Williford, Public Works Director and City Engineer.
Oh, good evening, Council. Roger actually gave a very good intro on all these, and if Council permits, excuse me here, I'll just provide an overview of all 3 at once. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer any of the 3 here. First on the list is that wetland mitigation, which you are probably familiar with. This came up at a prior council meeting, and in that time, it was a supplemental agreement with Horner and Schifrin. And this was done at the advice of MoDOT because they wanted to keep things somewhat streamlined for the grant tracking process. But in dealing with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, it was stated that we must be named as the purchaser of the wetland mitigation credits. And so we must therefore sign the document, which has been attached in the packet files, for purchasing those credits. So this would be authorizing the city manager to sign the mitigation document, which really was intended to be done with the prior resolution for supplemental agreement 2 with Horner and Schifrin. So there's no change there. This is a cost of roughly $29,000. It is grant eligible, so we expect roughly to pay 12% of that, 12.3-ish%, and we recommend proceeding with reading by title only for that. And then in relation to this project, Roger mentioned that we also have 2 easements. So this is the only owner that is impacted for easements, Steve and Jennifer Pryor. They live on the west side of Pollock Road Bridge, northwest side of Pollock Road Bridge. And as Roger mentioned, there's actually a bit of a jog in the road there. Well, we're looking at taking that out to make it a straight stretch with the new bridge going in, but that does require approximately a quarter of an acre of permanent right-of-way to be acquired. And then we would also need about 0.134 acres of land for temporary construction. So that temporary goes away once the project is finished. So we do have to abide by the Uniform Relocation Act, which is, in essence, ensures just compensation to individuals involved with property right transfers. So we did engage Horner and Schifrin to conduct an appraisal. They conducted that. They determined the value of the right-of-way to be $4,191 and the temporary easement to be $258. And so the total there being $4,449 for acquisition of both permanent right-of-way and then the temporary easement. This is grant eligible as well, so we would expect to pay about 12.3% of that. And this has been budgeted for as part of the Pollock Road Bridge project overall. So we would recommend proceeding with reading by title only for the temporary construction easement as well as the permanent right-of-way. And that covers the 3 items. Now, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
When do you anticipate, if we do this, when do you anticipate getting started then on the Pollock
Yeah, that's a good question. So we're
And when will we be finished?
We're hoping to bid the project in November, and the project, I believe, has 114 or 140 days to it. So we're looking at this probably starting in the winter, in essence. There's a lead time of, I believe, something like 70 days or so for the girders themselves, so the steel girders underneath the structure. And so that's a significant wait time, but that doesn't mean they won't be starting. They'll be starting to demo the bridge, get everything ready for putting those in there. And this is going to be a single span, so currently this is a multi-span structure, and we're going to a single span, so it'll be very nice to have. Will be done in spring, so I would assume just probably maybe around the April mark, I'm hoping, somewhere around there, would be probably finished.
What's the other bridge further up by the MMA or the whatever, is that part of this plan or?
Yeah, good question. So the Pollock Road culvert is what I'm calling it. That's part of the ARPA stormwater grants, and that is in the process of moving forward. It's kind of hoping to have that project done, in all honesty, before the Pollock Road Bridge, because that culvert is actually weight limited.
Yeah.
And so having equipment drive over that thing does not make me very happy or comfortable. We've got that. It's going to be bid on October 15th, roughly speaking, plus or minus a couple days there. We would anticipate construction starting, it would likely be winter of this year. We're going to have a lot of construction hit in the winter of this year, just because several deadlines came up right about the same period of time, and it's forcing design for all of the ARPA stormwater projects to be done essentially October 15th and advertised. So we'll have the bridge under construction. We may have that under construction at the same point in time.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Got a motion?
I move for reading of bill number 2024-55.
Second.
Miller.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
Weber. Briggs.
Yes.
Bill number 2024-55, a resolution authorizing the city manager to sign wetland mitigation documents with the Land Learning Foundation for BRO R119-1 through the Missouri Department of Transportation. I move for passage of bill number 2024-55.
Second.
Miller.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Briggs.
Yes. Okay.
I move for reading of bill number 2024-56.
Second.
Miller.
Yes.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Briggs.
Yes.
Bill number 2024-56, resolution authorizing the purchase of property from Stephen E. Pryor and Jennifer A. Pryor for the BRO R1191 Pollock Road Bridge Replacement Project through the Missouri Department of Transportation. I move for passage of bill number 2024-56.
Second.
Miller.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Briggs.
Yes.
I move for reading of bill number 2024-57.
Second.
Miller.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Briggs.
Bill number 2024-57, a resolution authorizing the city manager to sign a temporary construction easement with Stephen E. Pryor and Jennifer A. Pryor for the BRO R119 Pollock Road Replacement Project through the Missouri Department of Transportation. I move for passage of bill number 2024-57.
Second.
Yes.
Yes.
Miller. Williams. Hayes.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Briggs.
Yes. Okay, other business? Do I have a motion on the claim?
Move we pay the claims.
Second.
Miller.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Briggs.
Okay, under comments, I have council comments, and Steve, we'll start with you. You can tell us how wonderful the game was Friday night.
Well, it's always good to win homecoming, and I thought it was a great week for homecoming. Thought the kids were pretty good. Inflation's not that high because there was still toilet paper thrown around, so it hasn't got high enough, I guess. But I thought everything was really good, and Powder Puff game and all that, and of course the Friday night game was fun. So just I think a great time for Mexico.
My hat's off to the to the school, to public safety, everybody that worked together to pull off the parades and the assemblies, and there was really a lot of school spirit, and a lot of reunions were in town, and it was just a great atmosphere over the weekend for the community. I do have one question. This is from Bridges. I had to look. Explain what the deal is with the Jefferson Bridge. They don't want to do it now? Is that?
We held a neighborhood meeting, would have been a week and a half ago or so, or somewhere in that range. And we did have the residents from the neighborhood come out. We met with them here, actually, in City Hall. And generally, the consensus was that the options that we had provided for the bridge didn't preserve the history of the structures. Our concern, of course, is those bridges are weight limited. And so when we're projecting out, I don't have any concerns about them collapsing at this moment in time. But when I'm projecting out 5 years, I get concerned, and especially 10 years, are we at the end of service life for those structures? I could easily answer most likely yes. So we're going to have to put those on an annual inspection. Given we're not at the point of an imminent collapse or concern with those, train of thought in meeting with the residents of the neighborhood is there a way where we can take their considerations of preserving that history more into account? Is there another source of funding that we can procure in the next 5 years? Is there something else that would allow us to reconstruct those structures in a way that meets their historical concerns? Something on that nature. It's possible. I can't guarantee it. I told them the same thing. We've got the funding right now to do it, but I can't guarantee how that will look in 5 to 10 years. The one thing I will say, though, is we are over budget on some of our other projects, so that is part of the ARPA Stormwater Grant. The way our grant works, we actually have about $7 million or so where it's being split up into, let's say, 7-ish locations, and because of that, we are over budget in some of those locations. So if I get the sense that there's not an imminent need and we have concerns of historical preservation at this site, we determined the best use of funds was to transfer those funds to cover the overages for our other projects, specifically North Kentucky. The estimate for North Kentucky has come back substantially higher than what we had 2 years ago for it, and we're looking at trimming that construction project a little bit. But the, let's say, $300,000 that we had anticipated using for these bridges would certainly help cover some of the overages that we have on those other projects. So yes, the community was not in favor of the project. Is that a negative due to all the other things going on at the moment in time? I don't think so. I think we're going to look at other funding sources and then try to meet their needs for the history of the structure. That would be kind of the update on where we're at.
What type of bridge were you going to put in? Was it culvert?
It was a box culvert, and then what we had was an aesthetic barrier on both sides that would provide a bit of a sense of history there for the, kind of like you're driving through, you see a lot of these structures on the highways, for example, that have stamped concrete. Looks very nice, very pristine. That's what we were hoping there for. The balance, of course, is we've got an entire system to maintain, and spending a lot of money on aesthetics is difficult. The cost of the aesthetics alone was going to add $70,000 to the project, which we had our consultant look at from the very beginning because it was something we knew was critical for the residents of the community. So we evaluated that, and with that $70,000, knowing that, we felt it was a compromise and trying to maintain the historical preservation of it, but then also moving forward with trying to address infrastructure that is crumbling. I actually have some pretty good pictures that I can show you where you can see through the girder. It's rusted through.
So the one, didn't you put those in are those in the packet, or you got some other pictures?
Oh, it could be in the packet, yeah.
Right.
It was provided at the neighborhood meeting, and they very well probably made the packet at some point in time. So we talked that through, and then thought pattern here is we could probably, hopefully, find a source of funding. We're in an unprecedented age where there are lots of funding sources. It just takes time to search for them and find them. But if we can find something, historical preservation is something that is at the federal level pretty well funded. So we'll see if we can. That's not a promise by any means. It's just something that we're going to try to look into and try to serve the citizens best we can with that.
When you talk about rebuilding, are we talking about widening them or just making them stronger?
We would widen them to our standard as well. So part of this would be, in essence, a standard width road, 12-foot lanes, two 12-foot lanes. It would be difficult at this point in time to place a substandard structure or road in place anywhere in the city due to the liability and legal implications in this day and age. We're very litigious out in the public right-of-way. If something were to happen and we don't have proper signage up, we don't have proper striping, puts the city in a pretty poor situation, at least from what I have seen. And I come from a MoDOT background that worked in traffic safety, so I'm a little more maybe sensitive to that than I should be. But nonetheless, I would hate to put a structure in that would be a one-lane structure whenever our standard is for two 12-foot lanes.
What's the possibility of taking the stone and stuff out there and reusing it?
We briefly discussed that. I don't know. That's a very good question. Limestone and some of those stones in there, could you get them out with the concrete that's in there? Maybe. Again, that's why we ended up taking the route of removal and replacement, something standard, but also keeping in mind as an aesthetic appeal to it so that we could hopefully find a balance point somehow, and using those funds to preserve the infrastructure, but also preserve the sense of history there. And that's a difficult balance. I understand their opinion on it, and I value that.
I don't know how many people live out there or part of that neighborhood, but was there any thought given to them participating financially to maintain the historical?
That is a very good question. Given all of this was on a rush timeline, there was not any of that
They
discussion.
didn't bring it up. They certainly didn't bring it up, right?
No, not that I recall, but it's something certainly we could look at in the future. And as we look at other funding sources, they did mention the premise of helping look for funding sources. So I think the community seemed open to trying to help with that. Yep.
My only concern was some of the pictures I saw. I mean, you say it's in okay shape, and I'm looking at it going, well, there's holes in the girders, and I'm thinking, what's our insurance company gonna think about that? And then what if something does happen, and then we know, we have pictures, we know there's an issue, but...
Yeah, I can address that a little bit. We have worked with MoDOT. MoDOT provides they actually have this is where I started working right after college, funny enough. They have a bridge rating section. That's all they do. They put in old structures like this and they rate them, and they provide that for free as a service to our community and other municipalities. So we approached them just, what's it been, 3 to 4 years ago probably, to look at this structure. And so they did a full analysis knowing, hey, we've got an open hole this big on a girder, and they provided that the current weight limit on that bridge is sufficient. So when we do this more on a picture yearly basis, you may see that number drop because of MoDOT's recommendation. We do not have the capability in-house to run that. It's actually a very complicated computer program that I worked with back in the day, and it's a great program, but we would not be able to run that here. So we would ask MoDOT. They provide notification back to us about, hey, your weight limit needs to drop by 2 tons, and you need to do that immediately. So we'll look at that on an annual basis.
Thank you.
Okay, where was I? Okay, Chris?
Okay, well, the only thing I'm going to say is that the people that were opposed to it, I had 2 come to my store last Saturday and say that you did a tremendous job of holding the program quiet. I mean, nobody got excited. It was very calm, in their opinion, and they were highly opposed to taking it out, but they saw what you had to say and felt that you have to do what you have to do. But they thought you did a tremendous job with it. The other thing is, if you want to save those stones or get them out of there, just have the neighborhood kids, after living there 18 years, they've been picking them out of there regularly and throwing them in the bottom. They'll clean that right up for you.
Is that limestone deteriorating? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. Larry?
Just a couple of things. The Tehran Lou Community Service Day seemed to go well, seemed to be better than ever, I guess. So congratulations to all the folks involved in that. And Sebastian's ribbon cutting and open hanger weekend and whatever that's called went really well. There was a nice crowd out there for that, and a nice bunches of city folks were there, and so that went well. And there were a whole bunch of class reunions, as somebody said, and mine was the oldest by far.
I was going to say that, but I was trying to be nice.
About 10 years. And we all survived, as best I know. So everything went well. Congratulations, everybody.
All right, I don't have anything other than, I'll mention this to the council, the next meeting we have will be a rather important one, so try and make sure that you are here. You usually are. And then we're open for the public to speak, and if you are a member of the public and wish to speak, come to the podium, say your name, address. You must be a resident of Mexico, and you have 3 minutes. And if not,
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Miller.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Hay.
Yes.
Sweattick.
Yes.
Briggs.
yes.